Before we dive into the 10 things you should never do to your dog, there's something you need to understand. Dogs may seem resilient, full of life, and always ready to bounce back, but there are subtle things that can hurt them, both physically and emotionally, more than you realize. Doing these things, even once, can have lasting impacts that might be invisible at first, but one day, you'll look at your dog and see something different in their eyes. A sadness, a fear. If you love your dog, you need to listen closely. The first mistake can seem harmless, but it lays the foundation for a lot of regret later. 1. Ignoring emotional needs. Your dog is not just an animal. It's a companion that thrives on connection. When you ignore your dog's need for attention, companionship, or affection, it changes them. You might think they'll be okay without constant affection, but dogs feel loneliness deeply. Imagine you're at home, your dog sits by your side, yearning for a moment of attention, but you're too busy. Over time, this leads to emotional detachment. That spark in their eyes? It slowly fades. You may not notice at first, but one day you'll see a dog that seems distant. The bond you cherish could quietly slip away. 2. Leaving them alone for too long. Life gets busy. Work, errands, responsibilities, there are always reasons to leave your dog at home alone for extended periods. But have you ever thought about the effect that isolation has on them? Dogs, especially bulldogs, are social animals that suffer in silence. Day after day, hour after hour, that sense of abandonment builds. The heartbreaking truth is that dogs don't understand time like humans do. They don't know when, or if, you're coming back. It creates anxiety, depression, and behavioral issues that are hard to reverse. And once the damage is done, it could be too late to repair. 3. Physical punishment. Let's talk about one of the biggest mistakes dog owners make, punishing their dog physically. Whether it's hitting, kicking, or even shouting too loudly, these actions do more than scare your dog. They break their spirit. You may think it's a way to correct bad behavior, but all you're doing is instilling fear. When you raise a hand to your dog, it no longer sees you as a protector, it sees you as a threat. Over time, this fear can lead to aggression, anxiety, and even health problems. Dogs can't tell you they're in pain, but that pain will show in their eyes and in their behavior. 4. Feeding them human food. It's tempting, right? Those big puppy eyes watching you as you enjoy your meal. You might think giving your dog a little taste of what you're eating is harmless, but the truth is, many human foods are toxic to dogs. Chocolate, onions, grapes, these are just a few examples. Even something as simple as salt or sugar can lead to severe health issues, like kidney failure or heart disease. And the worst part? You won't see the consequences right away. But weeks, months, or years down the line, you'll wonder why your dog's health is deteriorating, never realizing it started with those harmless scraps. You love your dog, their family. You wouldn't want them to suffer in silence, would you? Every little action you take now can make a massive difference in their quality of life, especially when it comes to their gut health and overall well-being. If you've ever noticed your dog struggling with digestion, low energy, or just not being the playful pup they once were, it might be more than just age catching up. It could be their gut health crying out for help. Don't wait until it's too late. That's why I highly recommend Pawbiots, a powerful, all-natural supplement specifically designed to support your dog's digestive health and immune system. Imagine seeing them full of energy again, with a shiny coat and a strong immune system, living the life they deserve. Your dog depends on you for everything, why not give them the best care possible? You can find the link to Pawbiots in the comments. Don't wait for the signs of poor health to get worse, take action today, and give your dog the gift of a healthier, happier life. They've given you unconditional love, it's time to give something back. Click the link now and make sure your dog's future is as bright as the love you share. 5. Skipping vet visits. Your dog might look healthy on the outside, but that doesn't mean everything is fine. Dogs, especially breeds like bulldogs, are prone to specific health issues that you might not be able to detect without professional help. Skipping regular vet visits may seem like a way to save time or money, but it's a dangerous game. Over time, those small, undetected issues can grow into serious problems. And by the time you realize something is wrong, it could be too late to help them. Once that moment arrives, regret will hit hard, knowing that early intervention could have made all the difference. 6. Neglecting their grooming needs. Bulldogs have unique grooming needs. Their skin folds need regular cleaning to avoid infections. Neglecting this care might seem trivial at first, but infections can escalate quickly. What starts as a minor irritation can turn into a painful, chronic condition that could severely affect your dog's quality of life. It's easy to overlook the small things like a slight odor or redness until they become impossible to ignore. And by then, your dog is suffering more than you could imagine. They rely on you to keep them healthy and comfortable, and neglecting grooming can cause pain they can't tell you about. 7. Not exercising them enough. Bulldogs might look like couch potatoes, but they still need exercise. It's not just about keeping them fit, it's about their mental health. A dog that doesn't get enough exercise becomes bored, frustrated, and anxious. Over time, this leads to destructive behavior or health problems like obesity, heart disease, and arthritis. You might think skipping a few walks here and there isn't a big deal, but every missed opportunity for exercise adds up. By the time the consequences show, it's too late to fix. Your once energetic companion will be struggling to move, and all because of neglecting daily activity. 8. Forcing them to socialize when they're uncomfortable. Not all dogs are social butterflies. Forcing your dog into uncomfortable situations, whether it's a crowded park or an interaction with other animals, can lead to anxiety, stress, or even aggression. It's easy to misinterpret their hesitation as bad behavior, but in reality, they're trying to tell you something. Over time, repeated exposure to stressful environments can cause lasting emotional scars. Your dog might develop a fear of people, other animals, or even going outside. And once that fear is deeply ingrained, it's incredibly hard to undo. Be mindful of your dog's boundaries. Pushing them too far can cause irreversible harm. 9. Inconsistent training. Training your dog requires patience, consistency, and understanding. But many owners fall into the trap of being inconsistent, sometimes enforcing rules, other times letting things slide. This inconsistency confuses your dog and leads to behavioral problems. Over time, it becomes harder for them to understand what's expected of them, creating frustration for both of you. A dog without clear guidance becomes anxious and unpredictable. By the time you realize the need for structured training, you may be dealing with deeply ingrained bad habits that are nearly impossible to break. That's when the regret sets in, knowing you could have prevented this with just a little more discipline. 10. Not understanding their health conditions. Bulldogs are a breed with specific health issues, respiratory problems, hip dysplasia, skin infections, and more. Ignoring these conditions or failing to educate yourself about them is one of the worst mistakes you can make. The early signs of these health issues might be subtle, snoring, limping, or scratching, but they're not to be ignored. Over time, these small signs will worsen, and by the time they become severe, your dog could be in constant pain. When that moment comes, you'll wish you had taken the time to understand your dog's needs earlier, rather than learning the hard way. Misinterpreting your dog's body language. One of the most common mistakes dog owners make is misreading their dog's body language. Dogs communicate in ways that are subtle but deeply meaningful. When a dog is stressed, it may yawn, lick its lips, or avert its eyes, signs often mistaken for normal behavior. Ignoring these signals leads to increased stress, anxiety, and eventually, behavioral issues. Over time, these subtle forms of communication become cries for help, and if left unnoticed, your dog could develop deep-rooted fears and anxieties that are much harder to reverse. Pay attention to the small signs. They tell a larger story about your dog's emotional well-being. Overfeeding without realizing the impact. It's easy to think that a few extra treats here and there won't hurt, but for dogs, overfeeding can have long-term consequences. Obesity leads to a host of problems, from joint pain to heart disease. What's worse is that it shortens your dog's lifespan. Every time you give them an extra treat or a larger portion of food, think about the cumulative effect it has on their health. Over time, their body can no longer cope, and you may find yourself dealing with preventable issues like diabetes or arthritis. In the end, those extra treats may take years off their life. Every one of these mistakes may seem small in the moment, but they each carry a weight that grows over time. One day, you'll look back and wonder if you did everything you could for your dog. Will you see a healthy, happy companion looking back at you, or will you see the subtle signs of neglect? Dogs are forgiving, but they rely on you for everything, from their health to their emotional well-being. If you truly love your dog, you need to remember, every decision you make today will shape their tomorrow. Don't wait until it's too late to fix the things you could prevent now.